Do you support Donald Trump?
Uh, I voted for him, and I'd do it again.
Okay, why so?
Uh, I mean, it was like a question of who is the lesser of two evils,
Okay. And what
and
makes
it's
you
not
think Trump is
even.
the lesser of two evils?
Well, it's not really lesser of two evils. It's more of who I thought could run the country better. And I didn't feel like Kamala was genuine, and
Okay, what
Trump
makes
just
you think
seemed
that Kamala
genuine.
Harris was not genuine and Donald Trump was genuine?
Kamala Harris like flipped on a lot of her policies. If you look at what her policies were in 2020, whenever she was in the primary run for the election, a lot of them are actually almost like complete opposites of what she was actually running on in 2024.
Can you give me an example?
I think there was one about she used to be against policing, against uh, like defunding the police. She was for like the defund the police movement, and then in 2024 she was all about it. Same with the fracking and oil.
I don't think she
She
even
was.
talked about defund the police in 2024. So, and also, by the way, I don't know if she even very much talked about that prior. Under the Biden Harris administration, they actually like were not for defunding the police, but there's a few things there we can address. Uh, you say that Kamala Harris flips on policies. Who actually flips on policies is Donald Trump. He said that he was going to release the Epstein files and then didn't release the Epstein files. He said that he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He clearly did not have the capacity to do that and didn't do that. And now he's pro Ukraine. By the way, can you hear me right now? Is it lagging?
You sound fine.
Okay, sorry. My chat just wasn't loading. He also said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours and then chose not to do that specifically and actually didn't get any deal with Putin and specifically then has now gone full Ukraine saying that he can, full pro Ukraine, saying he can take back the entirety of Ukraine, everything that was taken from Russia in the very first place. So he's flipped on that. He flipped specifically on his policy in terms of repealing and replacing the ACA. And in this admin, he's advocated specifically to keep it in place. I can point to a million different things. He's flip flopped on his policy over and over again. We can point to his policy on paid for IVF. He flip flopped on that.
Well, I will admit Trump flips on a lot of policies, but I don't think he really flips his beliefs on like what he actually believes. I think he just says things that will get the most popular opinion and like the most he believes will get the most votes for him.
So, what makes you think
Which
that Kamala Harris is not doing that exact same thing?
I think she was doing the exact same thing. The difference was
Because
that
she's more genuine. She
she was
wasn't doing
just
that
more
because
funny.
she's not disingenuous like Trump. She's not just
I
willing to
never
say things
watched
she
her.
doesn't believe in order to get votes.
I think Kamala said some things she probably doesn't believe in to get votes. I think
Such
that's
as,
kind of the difference. Uh, I think one thing was with the oil and her positions on like fracking and banning fracking, and then when she actually has to run, where if she had the ability to ban fracking or change things in the Biden that happened in the Biden administration, she admitted that she couldn't think of a single thing that she would do differently than Biden.
the Inflation Reduction Act had within it fracking leases. So she was willing to compromise on fracking in order to ensure that they had renewable energy policy. So the largest net investment in renewable energy ever. Not saying she agrees with fracking, but she was willing to compromise on it.
Well, yeah, I want someone who agrees with it all the way.
You want someone who isn't willing to compromise?
I want someone who's willing to compromise, but not
Okay,
somebody
you just
like
conceded.
Kamala Harris.
Okay, explain to me how what she did there is not flip flopping, it's called compromise. So explain to me how Kamala Harris is less honest and genuine compared to Donald Trump. Because I can give you many examples of Donald Trump being disingenuous and lying, and you could not give me the same level of examples for Kamala Harris.
There's also the McDonald's thing. I don't know if it was ever proven she lied about it, but she never had any proof to back up her claims that she worked at McDonald's.
Why
That
would
was
she
kind of
lie
a
about
big deal
that?
for me. To become more relatable to the everyday working class person.
That doesn't change how much she's relatable. It really doesn't. Is there any person that ever cited that as a reason as to why they like felt more related to her? Like that makes no sense. That is seriously such a useless thing to do. Why would she ever lie about that?
Well, I mean, she could never prove it, so I don't
What? Why do
see
you have
why
to?
she wouldn't
What do you
lie
mean
about it.
she could never prove it? Do you have any evidence she didn't work there?
She never proved she worked at McDonald's, and as far as
I
I'm
mean, you
concerned,
don't
there's
have to
more evidence
prove.
that
You don't have
Trump
to
worked at
provide
McDonald's.
evidence that you worked places.
I mean, if you're gonna claim it in an election, I feel like you
Who
probably should.
cares? Who
I
cares where she
care.
worked? And who cares if she worked at McDonald's when she was younger? Who gives?
As someone who's worked like fast food and is working these jobs, if someone is trying to come off as relatable to me and more genuine, and they say stuff like that without proof or anything to back it up, and then Trump does the same thing,
What do
he
you mean?
goes to
Why they don't
McDonald's and
need to
actually
find?
lives.
They don't. You don't need. If I told you that I worked a job when I was younger, would I need to provide you evidence of that for you to believe it?
If you were running for the president, I would expect that.
Okay. Donald Trump said that he won the 2020 election. Do you expect evidence for him to provide?
Yeah, I would
Do you have an
expect
issue that he didn't
evidence. I
provide any
don't
of the
believe.
evidence?
I think he can just he gets to say what he wants because his base doesn't eat him alive.
Oh, so he can just lie without any accountability, essentially, is what you're saying? And you're only willing to
Pretty
apply
much.
accountability to Kamala Harris because you, as a part of Trump's base, are a part of a cult and you won't call it your own side?
The day I decided to not ever support the Democrats was the day I was in class. Whenever we learned the news of what happened, the one day you were at the event, and I literally saw people start smiling and cheering, and I could see the hatred that people have, and I knew I didn't want to
So
associate
if
myself with
that
that.
didn't happen, you wouldn't support Donald Trump?
I would have still have supported Donald Trump, but
Okay, so
I've
shut the up. That's not the reason. Now give me an actual reason.
having like a value and not supporting people
What are you saying? Supporting people?
celebrating it. By
No, no, we're
celebrating
not
and not
celebrating.
being
So
being
if
cheerful,
you
I
want to,
literally watch people celebrate.
okay. Now,
People at my
do you
school.
want to talk about how Trump supporters celebrated the murder of the Hortmans? Do you want to talk about Trump supporters celebrated of Paul Pelosi with a hammer? Trump supporters were celebrating that.
That wasn't like a
How do you feel
majority
about
though.
that?
That
How do you
wasn't
feel
a
about
mass
Trump
amount of
supporters
people.
celebrating that?
I didn't see. I wasn't there
Oh, well,
watching
that was
people
happening all
celebrate.
over the internet.
Is that? Do you actually believe that's on the same scale that the support for the other was? Do
Yes, genuinely, if not more.
you think more?
Yes,
I
genuinely,
know there has to
genuinely.
be more.
The right has been supporting violence over and over again. They literally support Donald Trump pardoning a violent rioter who killed police officers on January 6th. Okay?
Okay. We could go into the
They were
January
laughing
6th
about it
stuff.
all over Twitter, talking about it, how they should possibly bail out the guy. Do you remember all of that conversation? They were literally laughing about it, talking about bailing them out. And these are big figures. Okay? You can't even point to a single big figure that did that on the left. This is ridiculous. It's such a double standard. You guys will never talk about how you guys cheer on violence over and over again. You will never talk about that. You will never acknowledge it from your own side. You only use it to ingrain yourself in your own perspective. You don't care about unifying as a country. You don't care about coming together. You don't care about us having any type of meaningful basis for facts and reason and evidence and critical thought. All you care about is to continue dividing this country and to continue upholding the division and the violence by supporting people like Donald Trump. If you actually cared about unifying this country, you wouldn't support Trump. If you actually cared about the violence that happens in this country, you would not support Donald Trump. And that's point blank period. And I'll give you the explicit examples and the reasons as to why. I already have.
Okay, the explicit examples to the January 6th thing. I think didn't some new stuff just come out from the FBI? They said there was like 200 FBI agents in the crowd or something.
Okay, one, that's not substantiated, at least to what I've seen so far. And two, say that's true. That doesn't justifying pardoning violent rioters who police officers.
How many people involved in the George Floyd riots were
Wait, name one person
convicted
that
of
the
a crime?
Democrats pardoned who engaged in a riot.
I'm not worried about who they pardoned. I'm worried about who didn't get arrested.
Wait, again, that wouldn't be specifically due to the orders of the Biden administration. So can you specifically address this? Again, can you address
I
the
mean,
fact that
Biden
Donald Trump
pardoned a lot of
pardoned
people.
intentionally took away the charges and the convictions of people who were police officers on January 6th and he called them patriots too.
Okay, I don't agree with that, and I don't really support that.
But
It
that's the
just
side you're defending. You're trying to blame us, right? But you're not trying to blame yourself.
it's one issue on the side that I'm defending, but it doesn't mean I support every single action or decision that he's made.
So then why
I
are you
still
blaming us
support
for
the
that?
general
Why are you
policy
blaming, why are you saying the left is like this and you're blaming me for that, right? But then you're not willing to do that with yourself when it's literally significantly more prevalent
because I
on
don't
your side.
engage in violence or
What's up?
support it. I don't engage in violence or support violence.
You literally support Donald Trump.
Supporting Donald Trump does not equate to supporting violence,
I
but
mean, he
I'll let you
pardoned
explain
violent
what it
rioters, he
is.
police officers, right? He incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol. I mean, like, at what point would supporting it not be deemed as you supporting violence? What do you support of
I,
Trump's?
I support some stronger immigration policy. I support, I mean, there's a lot of things. It's mostly just the things that I didn't support were on the other side, so naturally
So is
I
there
would
anything else
support
other than stronger
something.
immigration policy? You just said you don't like things on the left. That's all you said?
Also, manufacturing stuff. If,
Okay, what
as like
else?
the manufacturing has left America, I mean that's really the biggest thing. There's also like gas prices and inflation and just the general everything.
Okay, this is so hilarious. So, gas prices have gone up since Trump got in office. Inflation has gone up since Trump imposed Liberation Day tariffs, and they continue to trend up because tariffs put upward pressure on prices. We are manufacturing less stuff in this country because of real manufacturing investment declining in this country since Trump got in office after a massive increase into the Biden-Harris administration. It's declined not only in Trump's first term in terms of domestic manufacturing accounting for inflation, but also in the term since he's got in office. And then all you could bring up other than that, because all of those other points were completely and totally false, right, was stronger immigration policy. What about his immigration policy do you like?
I like the fact that people aren't crossing the border like they used to.
So it's based on the level of crossings. So did you know that Biden inherited a more, or actually inherited a less secure border than he gave over to Trump? Because Trump specifically, he inherited a level of border crossings that were lower daily averages comparative to Trump's first term when he handed it over to Biden.
And then Biden got in office, and are we just going to ignore the three
And by
years
the
that?
time he left, it was more secure than the way that he inherited it.
Okay, now you're just kind of just twisting stuff that doesn't
No,
make
I'm
any
not.
sense.
I'm not. And Trump, based upon that same determination, the first time he got in office, it was less secure, right, when he left office than when he got in office. When Obama handed it over to him, it was more secure. There were lower daily average crossings at the beginning of Trump's admin when he inherited, right, inherited the presidency, right, comparative to the end of his administration in 2021, right, when the time that Biden was taking over. So Trump inherited a more secure border than he gave over to Biden, and then Biden inherited a less secure border than he gave over to Trump.
Okay, are you gonna get into the stats of the total number of crossings over their
I
terms?
just told you. I gave you the specific basis for it. It was the level of border crossings, and you can find this from the CBP.
Okay, well, I've looked at the stats for the number of border crossings overall over the entire term.
I'm talking about daily
And
average crossings at particular times. I will
yeah,
acknowledge that there
it's
were
the
more
total
people that
number.
came under the Biden administration. That's because of economic insecurity relating to the pandemic. I'm specifically mentioning when they got in office and when they left office. And based upon the way that you're using the term, because it's totally based on border crossings, it is the case that, again, Biden inherited a less secure border than he handed over to Trump, and Trump inherited a more secure border than he handed it over to Biden. And that's a fact.
And did the crossings go up after Trump was announced, or after Biden was announced as the winner? Is that the time frame we're looking at between like November and January?
It was relating more to like prior to the pandemic, cutting people from coming into the country. It wasn't specifically just Biden announcing.
Okay, that's I mean, you're taking stats. If you're gonna use stats, you should use them more broadly, and you should
Oh,
focus on
are
multiple
you saying you
years.
should add extra context? Are you just saying border crossings up does not mean you're acknowledging any context there, right?
The only stat I really care about is how the
What
actual
what
number
wait?
of
What
people
context were you
overproportional.
what context were you providing when talking about the level of border crossings under the Biden admin? Are you going to acknowledge that COVID had a backlog of people that were not able to come prior? Are you going to acknowledge the global inflation, right, relating to supply chain issues during the pandemic that have nothing to do with the Biden administration that led to more people coming to our country because of economic insecurity around the world? And are you going to mention by the time that he left office, there were lower levels of border crossings than the end of Trump's first term?
Yeah, because Biden brought back some of Trump's policies before he got back in office to make him more electable.
So again, he addressed the context. And also, Donald Trump undermined a bipartisan border bill, right, that literally would have addressed the conditions at the border earlier.
Obviously, he couldn't have the Democrats fixing the border.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Why,
You don't
why would he
give a
want
shit about fixing the conditions of the border. All you cared about was him getting elected.
Well, whenever they break the border and then they try to act like they're the ones that are going to fix it, obviously, I don't think they should get away with that.
No, they weren't the ones that broke the border. It was Donald Trump because he didn't want to specifically pass a policy specifically to address the conditions at the border.
Was he the president for those 4 years?
He called people in Congress to undermine that. He had influence over the Republican Party. He was the leading candidate for president. He is now our president.
Yeah, and the border is way better, so I don't see what you're getting at. You can't
Due to what policy of Trump's?
see something different. His
Because Trump
policies
already
is not
inherited
just
a secure
policy,
border, by the way. Trump already
it's
inherited
also
a
the
secure border.
narrative.
What's
It's the
that?
way he said. It's also the narrative and the policy of whenever Biden's acting like people should be allowed to come into the country, they're going to come into the country. Whenever you act like you're hard on borders and you're taking a hard stance against it, people aren't going to test you
And
and try to come
I
in.
think it's better that more people came to the country. The immigration surge that happened under the Biden-Harris administration will lead to an $8.9 trillion increase in the GDP by 2034, according to the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan committee from the federal government. So again, we can acknowledge the set of conditions that it was specifically due to the economic insecurity that exists around the world, and it wasn't specifically due to the Biden administration policy, but actually more people coming to the country is a good thing. You have no argument for it being bad. It's actually significantly better in terms of our culture, our society, our environment, our level of crime in our country, our GDP, right? Our level of wages. We can point to plenty of things specifically that are significantly better off because we have higher levels of immigration, which increases the level of innovation within our society, increases the level of competition within our society, which is a good thing, given it also increases the level of demand within our society, therefore incentivizing a creation of a greater level of jobs.